obvious and sees opportunity in the not so obvious. See beyond the big
Hi, hello, YouTube.
transaction solutions you can depend on.
Business Express, brought to you by EnterSwitch. Transaction solutions you can depend on.
A very good morning to you and welcome back. You're listening to Smooth, the 98.1 Love Music, Love Live. It's time for Business Express, and of course, is brought to you by InterSwitch. And Rotus joins me live. Rotus, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Judith. Good morning to all our listeners out there. Good to be with you all to start off a new week.
Yes, indeed. You can join the conversation as always. By the way, we're streaming live on YouTube. So first of all, go on there to go catch us live inside the studio. We're at Smooth 981 on YouTube, at Smooth 981. Remember that Business Express is brought to you by InterSwitch. So join the conversation on our WhatsApp platform on 0809 444 0981. Again, 0809 444 0981. Rotus.
Yeah, so look, we're a month and 3 days away from for Christmas, and we, some economists, analysts are expecting that Q4 GDP should be lifted by the festive season, which hopefully it should. Q4, the country's economy usually is elevated during those periods based on demand for foodstuff, parties being fun, people buying gifts. But I have to tell you, the cooking gas situation might actually lead to a subdued Christmas in some parts of the country. I ran out of cooking gas yesterday. Had to rush out to go and buy it to fill up my 12.5 kilogram cylinder, and paid 9,000 for it. I remember when I can't remember, one of the publications was speculating as to whether we could hit 10,000 by Christmas time, and this was about a month or two ago. It wasn't really. It didn't seem a bit far-fetched at that time. Now, again, this is for parts of Lagos, and I think some parts of Ogun State. I'm just testifying as to what I paid for yesterday here in Lagos. And cylinders used to be, it was from 4,500, 5,000, they have on the verge of almost doubling. Now there's a natural gas issue on the international markets. We've seen it cause issues for Biden. Is doing all he can now to try to bring prices down. He's ordering investigation of oil and gas companies for collusion. He's just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. Over, Russia is taking advantage because of the fact that it supplies natural gas to Europe. They're asking it to supply more. There's all these geopolitical issues. But basically, I think it's come down to a demand-supply issue, and gas is priced in dollars. So with prices rising internationally, the retailers who go to the depots to go and buy are seeing prices elevated. And so that's now translating into higher prices for the to fill up your 12.5 kilogram cylinder. And it was interesting because, the guy, when he asked me, I was like, how much do you want? And, usually I've always filled it up. I've never been asked how much do you want to fill it up with. It's just, here, fill it up. Let me, I'll pay and I'll go. But it's because everybody is so price sensitive now of the cost of cooking gas. And when you bring a 12.5 kilogram cylinder, the seller doesn't automatically assume that you want
to fill it up.
Yeah, because the price has climbed so much. Mm-hmm. So what's the impact? The impact is that folks will seek alternatives. They'll probably use coal, which is not very clean, but what can you do? In order to save costs. It impacts, as far as cooking is concerned, It's going to impact how much, people who are in the food business, the mama puts and so on and so forth. That's going to impact how much that they're able to, to bring in, because if the cost of cooking gas or that is affecting how much you spend to make your food, then it will filter through in the prices of the food that you sell. And I know this, I think with everything that's going on, I think it was just was it last week? It was last week when I think the World Bank said that inflation is going to push another 4 or 5 million people into poverty in this country. So inflation, especially food inflation, which is at 18.34% now, it's still very elevated, and has been the main driver of what we've been seeing with inflation. So, the cooking gas thing, it's here speaking here in Lagos, and I think parts of Ogun State, that's what we're seeing it. But by the time this next month rolls around, if demand remains elevated for goats and rams and cows and all these other things and chickens and getting rice and so on and so forth, who knows? It could hit the 10,000 naira mark, and it's just yet another pressure point on the pockets of Nigerians in this part of the country when it comes, impact on food. So it's rough out there. It's rough.
Well, we do have messages here. Let's see if I can take some of our messages. This is Lola. She goes, "Good morning, team. I ordered my 12.5 kg cylinder for 8,500 yesterday. I live in Bagada." And she says, I filled it. So she filled up a 12.5 kg cylinder of gas for 8,500 naira.
Wow. So that's 500 less than what I paid. Yeah, I did mine in Obalende.
And this is at Nedu, and it goes, "Imagine how many people will switch from cooking gas to coal and how much this will affect climate change." And this is Timothy here, and he goes, "Good morning to everyone in the studio. Please, does Nigeria still flare gas? And is this not a sign to look inward with the rising demand and price?" This is Michael at day 22, and he goes, "I did mine for 9,600 yesterday evening. It's becoming appalling day by day." So It's interesting. Michael, where do you live? I'm quite intrigued to find out where you live and how many. What's your gas capacity? Was the same 12.5 for you, Michael? Just curious.
So look at that. So you can see the range with Lola saying she did 8,500. I 9,000. Michael is saying he paid 9,005 or 9,006. So 9,006. So you can see, it's the thing is, however you slice it, it's going up. And I'm very grateful to our listeners for chipping in and sharing their experiences. It's really tough, and so I don't know. I guess so. That means you're pretty much almost at the 10,000 mark already. Yes. What we're seeing so far. But yeah, to the question, we still flare gas, and they're trying to temper down on that. But our gas infrastructure, we still don't have enough to satisfy local demand. There's still a lot that needs to be done in terms of getting that worked out. So that's still something that is very much on the cards for Nigeria. Nigeria is a gas nation. It's not just oil. So that's we'll have to see how things play out as we get closer to the Christmas season. I guess as we get closer, I'll be asking our listeners how, what the plans are for Christmas, if they've shifted, downsized celebrations and so on and so forth. Because that's what I think. It's inevitable. If prices are this high and you usually get 2 goats or something or 3 goats during Christmas, you may only get just one. You really buy a cow, you might not buy a cow anymore. So if you have a party that you usually invite 50 people, you probably maybe invite just 15 or 20. So I think it's a downsizing that we're going to be seeing as the Christmas celebrations get closer. Some people might not even celebrate it at all, So it's interesting. All right. Other than that, very quickly, there's the Monetary Policy Committee meeting is getting together today and tomorrow. 22nd, 23rd is the last meeting of the year for the MPC. Benchmark interest rate hasn't changed. It didn't change at the last meeting in September. 11.5% is where the benchmark rate is. Although we are expected, the MPC meetings have become a bit dramatic in the last couple of meetings. There was a whole bookie FX thing last time in September. Before that, there was the BDCs being banned. So I think we're expected to hear from the central bank governor to talk about I would talk about the economic conditions, the amount of support that the CBN has provided to the economy, different sectors. I mean, they've been everywhere. CBN, healthcare, manufacturing, creative industry. They've been all over the place. So I expect them to talk about credit to the private sector. I expect the governor to talk about this, touch on the e-Naira and the number of transactions they've seen with the e-Naira. Also talk, of course, about the FX rates. Since the days of when a bookie FX was banned, I mean, that was at a high of about 570, 575. Since then, it has come down. I think 530, 535. So I expect the central bank to touch on the foreign exchange situation. But I don't think with inflation is still high, but it's been decelerating, which means it's still rising, but not rising at the same pace as before. So I expect, based on that, I don't think the benchmark rate of 11.5%, I don't think it will be changed. I think the central bank will just maintain what they call an accommodative stance, just to allow the policies that they've put in place to further sift through the economy. So we won't hear anything today. They'll deliberate today, but tomorrow afternoon is when the CBN governor will address the nation from Abuja, and so I expect the rates to remain where it is as far as the MPC meeting is concerned.
We have messages here. Michael is back and he says, I stay at Ipaja. Yes, same 12.5 kg as at yesterday. The gas station was selling for 9,200. And they said people selling at 8,500 and 8,500 and 9,000 are those that have old stock in their cylinders with their station.
Yeah, interesting.
Very interesting stuff. This is Ogene Ochukwu, and it goes, a lot of the consumer, especially those on estimated billing system, has moved to electric stove. That's one way to look at it. But
that's another option.
So kind of expensive as well. I mean,
it would, if you're on estimated billing and you're moving to an electric stove, you're probably going to see a higher probably see a higher bill. But then you can see people running from one side to the next. You're doing that to escape having to, pay for higher cooking gas prices. But you probably still we'll see that reflected. Or maybe not, which shows you how the estimated billing thing is kind of weird because it doesn't seem very scientific, right? So
yeah,
they're taking a gamble with that, and it might pay off if it's not reflected.
Moving on, this is Matthew Afolabi, and it goes, looking at the rate of inflation, do you think there will also be some downsizing in the number of Owambe we celebrate? The answer to that question, Matthew, is no. I don't think so. There would be any.
Well, the people who throw them are people who can afford to. So look, you never know, because again, all these Owambe celebrations, you are cooking a lot of food for a lot of people. So it may not, depending on the income level of who is throwing it. If it's all these wealthy Nigerians with children who they want to let the world know is getting married, they'll probably still not change anything. But I think for others at lower income levels, there might be some downsizing. Again, we'll see how things turn out. But I think it depends on who is throwing it.
This is Daniel, and he goes, on crypto, if it becomes mainstream in a few years, can we sue the central bank for depriving us access to this asset class? I am getting, especially with this talk of metaverse and NFT.
I don't think you can sue the regulator, because the regulator is in charge of the banks, and it has instructed the banks that they should not facilitate any crypto transactions. So I don't think that's going to work at all.
This is Yinka Bulu, and he goes, people won't switch to coal. They will still buy the gas, even if there's an increase in price. The rate at which it's rising ain't normal. I think it's become a thing of meeting the 12K target for some rogues. And that's from Yinka there. And lastly, this is Sharon Bays, and he goes, good, all right, just wishing us a beautiful day. Well, that's it pretty much.
Thank you, Judith, and thank you to all our listeners. Very much appreciate you guys. And everybody, please give me feedback as we did daily. Just you all give me feedback on, I guess, how you're planning your Christmas spend. I think we'll talk about that on personal finances. So, thanks, Judith.
You're welcome. And that brings us to the very end of Business Express, brought to you by Stanbic. So brought to you by InterSwitch. I beg your pardon. Stick around. Coming up at 7:30 is going to be time for Freshly Pressed 981. Stay with us.
Solutions you can depend on.